Welcome to the Strong Enough podcast, where we talk about the challenges and celebrate the triumphs of people from all walks of life. I'm your host, Claudia.
I'm your co-host, Jen.
Have you ever felt in such a deep, dark despair that you believed you didn't matter anymore and no one would even miss you if you were gone? Well, our next guest felt just that until she realized that she had a purpose and it wasn't her time to go. She's going to share with you how she was able to change her outlook and now she helps other people find the light within themselves. Please welcome Angie Hawkins. Welcome to Strong Enough, Angie. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We are fantastic. And I have to say, if you're listening versus watching, you need to head over to YouTube and take a
Mhm.
look at this episode because Angie is radiating. I think that's a great
Yes.
word for it, right?
Dude, not okay. So we've got flower earrings, which are absolutely gorgeous, but like, can we just
Amazing.
also reflect on the amazingness of your glasses? Like, they're
Yes.
so fun. Like,
So I am known for my statement eyewear. I'm also known for my earrings. I don't always pull out the flowers, but I am partially known for my flower earrings as well. So these are like my trademark things.
love that.
I do
Love
too.
it.
And I've also never heard statement eyewear, but I'm a
Oh,
fan.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. I think we got to get into that, Jen. Statement eyewear.
and
Yeah, we
also
totally
I'll
should.
just
Yeah.
plug it now on my YouTube channel. I do not post a lot there, but about a year ago, I posted because people always ask me how many pairs of glasses, because I have tons of
Yes.
glasses and sunglasses. And people always ask me, how many pairs of glasses do you have? So I had this idea to film, it was supposed to be for TikTok, but I was like, I'm going to
Hmm.
film this video where I tell a vulnerable story and try on all my glasses. But the overall point was to count how many pairs of glasses I have,
Ah,
but it took 8 minutes to go through the whole thing. So it was not TikTok worthy. So I ended up posting it on YouTube, but I do go through my entire just regular eyewear. It doesn't even touch my sunglasses, but it
Wow.
took 8 minutes as I'm talking to try all of them on and
oh
off.
wow.
I
That's
think
so
that
cool. We'll
says
have
it
to go check
all.
that out.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love that. So everybody go check that out. Not only just to count, but also to see all of the statement eyewear. I
Yes.
think I think you have to. Well, Angie, I would love it if you would share a little more about yourself with our audience. So we already know that you have amazing style and fashion. What else do we need to know about Angie?
Well, as with a lot of things, there's always a backstory
Mhm.
to how we are the way we are. And my backstory is not all sunshine and rainbows. Although when I was a little girl, I did dream of living in Hawaii and having a red convertible, which I do now. But the home where I grew up was, the way I describe it, it was more like a business than a family. My parents were extremely emotionally unavailable, which, as an adult and going through therapy and the inner work and everything, I totally understand it. And, my logical brain and even the compassionate side of me can, wrap my brain around it. But as a child, I was searching for meaning in that. And the way I interpreted that situation was that I didn't deserve to be loved. And as you're probably aware, your internal beliefs dictate your behaviors, which dictate
Mhm.
the things that you bring into your life. So I struggled for a very long time in my life because I was always chasing love and approval and things about outside of myself, not believing that I was worthy without it. And so this is like the Cliff Notes version because I can go into all the ways that that was not working out for me. But one of the turning points was in 2017, my dad passed away. Well, actually, first, my boyfriend broke up with me, then my dad passed away. And I was 37, and I had spent 37 years running away from my feelings, not feeling my feelings. But with both of these events, the grief was so profound that I could not run away from my feelings anymore. And it was so intense. And for the first time in my life, I actually started soul searching and thinking about, like, how can I be happier? How can I do more with my life? And again, I had always wanted to move to Hawaii. So I decided to move from Chicago to Hawaii, which Part of it was well intentioned because I was trying to do better and actually make some changes in my life. But the part that I wasn't still understanding was that I was still reaching for something outside of myself to be the thing that made me feel better, because it's like I wanted this new location to be the thing that
Mm-hmm.
made me happy. So when I moved, you don't move away with your problems. So I still brought everything with me. And not only that, I had a whole new host of problems. And like right off the bat, there were three major things that happened. This was in 2018. And so I kept my job and was working remote, which at the time, remote work was not the trendy
Yeah.
thing to
Mm-hmm.
do.
Right.
So that in itself was difficult. But then there was this huge management shakeup that actually threatened my job. So the first year that I lived here, I lived in constant fear of losing my job. And again, there
Mm-hmm.
really weren't a lot of other options available because it's a small island. So there's not local jobs and they weren't a lot of remote jobs. So that caused a lot
Mm-hmm.
of anxiety. I also had struggled making friends, which was something I had never struggled with before. So that was really lonely and isolating, considering I was 4,000 miles away from any other
Mm-hmm.
friends that I had. And then also to prove that I was committed and all in on the decision, I immediately bought a condo here and I was so proud of myself. And then a month after I closed, a shared pipe in the building backflowed into my bathroom sink and I wasn't home. And so my entire brand new condo flooded, which that would have been
No.
stressful regardless, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
was like
Right.
brand new here. I didn't have any friends. I had all this other stuff going on. So, and that was just the beginning. There was like this 2 year period of just thing after thing, like my grandma died, and there was all these things that honestly would have drove a sane person crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But because I was relying on my external world to be the thing that made me happy, and that was falling apart. So I started slowly falling apart on the inside as well. And then COVID happened. So I don't think I have to describe how that exacerbated the problem. And then I started a relationship during COVID, and it ended up that he was lying about a bunch of things. So I ended up feeling very betrayed. And honestly, that was just the straw that broke the camel's back, because in October 2020, I just reached this moment where I couldn't take it anymore. And I know, like, a lot of time, I don't know about you guys, but there have been a lot of times in my life where I say to myself, I can't take it anymore. But there was something different about this time. It was just the overwhelming hopelessness of it all. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, like for 2 years, like it was thing after thing after thing. So I didn't even see any hope for the future. And that just place of sheer hopelessness is really a dangerous place to be. And
Mm-hmm.
again, coupled with that was the isolation of COVID. And again, at that point, I still hadn't made a lot of friends. And then with COVID, and the only time I was really spending time with was this person who betrayed me, I
Mm-hmm.
also didn't have the social support or any kind of support in that way. And I had a total emotional breakdown. I intentionally overdosed on my anxiety medication. I spent a day and a half unconscious in my bathroom. I somehow managed to text a friend. I was totally blacked out, so I don't even remember doing it. And then I spent another day and a half in the hospital, and I was released from the hospital, and my phone had been off for 3 days. And so I got out of the hospital and I opened it up and I had a bunch of text. One of my friends was especially concerned because I was supposed to go to this workshop she was having and I didn't go. So I called her when I got home, and I didn't want to tell her what happened because I was so ashamed, but the emotional intensity was just so much and I needed someone to
Mm-hmm.
talk to. So I told her everything that happened. And when I finished talking, I ended in, I can't believe I didn't die. And her response was, it's not your time. And it was so profound. It sent a cold chill through my body. And I that conversation was meant to be, because I don't think I would have came to that insight on my own. And that's what motivated me to actually change my life and like do things the right way to make my life better. And again, that's just the Cliff Notes version, but
And that's a good version.
yeah.
You know, a lot of people have that moment, where they get that clarity in some way, somehow. So when you had that moment of it's not your time yet, where did you go from there? Like, what was your first step in the new you and focusing on your worth versus external validation?
So my very first step was I recognized that I needed help, and because what I was doing on my own was not working, and
Mm-hmm.
I had tried traditional therapy and that had not been helpful for me. So I decided to invest in myself and hire a coach. And on our very first call, he asked me if you could do anything and didn't have to worry about money, what would you do? And I have now published a book, but at that time, it was just an idea, and I was too afraid to allow myself to be seen. So it was only an idea because I was like, I could never do this and put myself
Mm-hmm.
out there like that. But when he asked me that question, that was the first thing that came to my mind. And I started telling him about this book. I was like, yeah, I want to write this really vulnerable memoir because I feel like we're not talking about things that happen in real life, especially on social media, but even in real life, we put on our happy face and
Mm-hmm.
pretend that everything's fine. So I want to write this book, and then I want to do speaking tours around the world and like have these safe spaces for people to talk about the real things that happen in life.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him all about it. And he was like, did you see how lit up you just got when you were telling me this? And I
Mm-hmm.
did. So it's kind of twofold. So, one thing I did, I decided, even though I didn't understand it, I felt like the book was my purpose. So I got serious about writing and publishing the book. But also, I ended up coaching with him for years because keep in mind, like I started from rock bottom, which is one
Mm-hmm.
of the reasons I tell my story because in hindsight, I knew I was going down that dark path. I just didn't want to admit it and didn't want to do anything about it because change is hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I tell my story because I don't want you to get to rock bottom. Because, first of all, I don't want anyone to go through that. But also, it's much harder to pull yourself out of. So I had to get coaching for several years to really pull myself out of it. But basically what I did in coaching, because I always had homework, because I had this
Mm-hmm.
limiting belief that I didn't deserve to be loved. So I would practice showing up in the world in a way where I was respecting myself and trusting myself. For instance, like setting boundaries or keeping promises to myself. And it's nothing like earth shattering, but all these little things really do add up to changing your
Mm-hmm.
limiting beliefs because it's just this daily practice of being a certain kind of person, and then that changes your inner belief system. So it's not a quick and easy fix, but that's the short
Mm-hmm.
version of how I turned my life around.
What do you struggle with now, as you continue to navigate life and
Yes.
and still in a new place or it's still newish. You've been there a while, but how do you navigate the challenges now?
It's a lot better now. Actually, I'll give you a perfect example because I was working in corporate America for 20 years and I just quit earlier this year because if I'm being honest with myself, it had not been a good situation for a while, but it really didn't punch me in the face until I was transferred to a team where I had a manager that was basically bullying me. And again, like I've done all this inner work, so it was like such a disconnect because I knew I didn't deserve to be treated that way. I knew I respected myself. And also, I've proven to myself that I trust myself. I have courage, like I can do
Mm-hmm.
anything I want to, basically. So I quit my corporate job and started a coaching business because it's like that was not aligned with me. I was ignoring all the signs. And so I think my manager actually did me a favor by pushing me in the direction I was meant to go. So, and it wasn't easy by any means. Like it took me about 3 months from the time I decided to quit my job till the
Right.
time I actually quit it. It took about 3 months, but in all fairness, it was rooted into I had to make sure that I had enough money that I could live off of. It
Mm-hmm.
was like the practical reasons. There was some fear-based mindset behind that, but The difference between me now and me back then, it's like I have the tools to regulate my emotions. I'm able to think more clearly about
Mhm.
things. I trust myself. I trust my decisions. I respect myself because I'm not going to stay in a bad situation longer than I need to. Because even staying as long as I did still affected my mental health.
Right.
But that was a good lesson. I'm like, okay, next time, once I decide I'm leaving, I'm leaving. I'm not waiting 3 months because that 3 months actually kind of set me back. So, like, I also have more of a growth mindset now because, yeah, I wish I would have left 3 months sooner, but that's a lesson that I'm taking with me to learn from in the future.
How was it for you to kind of realize in that moment that you had grown to a point where you did value yourself and know that you didn't deserve to be treated that way? Because I feel like old Angie probably would have stayed in that job or that relationship, like we'd still be there. So how was
Exactly.
it for you to kind of have that realization and be like, wow, like I don't deserve that and I deserve better?
Honestly, it was just this overwhelmingly like it's a sense of pride. I was
Mhm.
so proud of myself because again, I could look at so many older versions of myself who never would have done that and I just felt so proud of myself. And it's like that and this is what I teach my clients. It's like that internal happiness and confidence. Nobody can take that away from you, no matter how
Mhm.
bad my job was or anything. This whole sense of pride and happiness about who I am and what I'm deciding to do overrode all of that stuff. So that's why, yeah, my life has totally changed by just changing my limiting beliefs and my internal beliefs.
Right. Has that positively impacted relationships as well? And maybe not just even romantic relationships, but friendships, work relationships, everything, because now a different Angie is walking into the room and expects more from the people that you're interacting with.
Yeah, that's a really great point because, and this is what I didn't realize in the old versions of myself. I was attracting certain people and
Hmm.
situations because of the way I was showing up. I was
Right.
showing people how to treat me. I was showing them what I was tolerating. And now that I show up in a certain way, the quality of everyone around me is
Hmm.
completely different. As a matter of fact, when I quit my job, was really apparent to me because my friend circle now
Hmm.
was super supportive of me. Whereas like many past versions of me, my friend circle would have been very judgmental or fear-based or like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? And I didn't get any of that. And that was like, and that was another like true sense of pride. It's like, okay, I'm like
Hmm.
actually doing well in life, even though I just quit my job and I don't know what I'm doing now. I just had this overwhelming sense of pride. Like I feel like I'm at least on the right path because I have
Right.
this, like my whole external environment is different.
I want to know, and you kind of dipped your toe in it, because I wasn't going to ask. So I have been involved in an abusive relationship in the past, and while I was not to blame, I know that my feelings about myself contributed to being in that type of relationship. It attracted that kind of person to me.
Yes.
And so it's not to assign fault or say, you did this, but I think we do until we can heal, we can't bring the good people in. So, did you feel like that kind of across the board that once a different Angie started showing up, different people started showing up?
Absolutely, because yeah, I was in a toxic relationship for a long time and a romantic relationship, and I tolerated it.
Hmm.
Therefore, even after that relationship ended, I kept attracting that same kind of person. Whereas
Hmm.
now, those kind of people don't even approach me. Like,
Right.
yeah, it's wild.
I feel like it's like a radar that we don't know is going off.
Yeah.
It's like emotionally damaged over here. Like,
It's kind of like you attract that. And I can
mm-hmm,
say that even for me, like on, my unhealed versions of myself in my, 20s and my 30s, I attracted the wrong people, and not even
mm-hmm,
just the wrong romantic people, but I also was attract the wrong friends. Like I
Yeah.
attracted
mm-hmm,
people who treated me horribly because again, I didn't have self-worth. I didn't think I deserved to have good friends in
Yeah.
my life. And you settle. And
mm-hmm,
so I think 100%, when you start making those moves and you start changing, those people, I use this analogy a lot. It's kind of like alcoholism. You have a person who's an alcoholic. Well, they obviously hang out with a bunch of other friends who all drink and party and blah, blah, blah. But what if this one person decides, hey, guys, I have a problem. Like, I need to get some help. Oh, well, guess what happened to all those other people that were doing the exact same thing to themselves? Oh, well, if you have a problem, you think now maybe I have a problem because I consume just as much as
mm-hmm,
you do. I hang out with you. And it literally kind of reflects back on them in a
mm-hmm,
sense. I've dealt with that a lot. And people, they don't like that. They don't like change. They don't like being called out in their crap, or
Yeah.
as a faith-based person, I say sin. They don't like it. They don't like to be called out on it, or, again, to reflect back on them that they have some issues that
mm-hmm,
they need to work on, or work through. And, I always say this too, is like iron sharpens iron. You want to be around like-minded people,
mm-hmm.
or people that will hold you accountable, who will
Yes.
sharpen you, help you grow, but also are there for you during the valleys. Because guess what? Life has that,
Mm-hmm.
and you need that support system. But when you're in such a broken place mentally, like you don't see that, and you don't even think that you can deserve
Mm-hmm.
any of that stuff. A good life, a good relationship, good friends. Um, and kudos to you for recognizing that, because most people don't. Most people aren't self-aware enough to do that and then sit
Mm-hmm.
down and actually unpack everything and then start healing. A lot of people just like
Yeah.
to sit in their blame game and sit, in a victim
Yeah.
mentality.
And I can see that though, because like my healing process was not easy because
Never
once you,
is.
like, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
I had to your point earlier, Claudia, I had to accept the role that I was playing in a lot of things, and it brings
Mm-hmm.
up a lot of shame. And
Right.
a lot of people can't face that. And I get it because it's hard.
Mm-hmm. But
It
you
is
know
hard.
that
It's
shame is not yours,
Yeah.
Yeah.
for
And I
sure.
say I say this a lot too. Um, you know, Claudia and I, we talk about this, is one of my things, but I'm so sorry that the trauma happened to you, and it probably wasn't your fault, most likely.
Yeah,
However, your healing is your responsibility.
exactly.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of the token that we all have to take into account, is that, yeah, man, but every single one of us has been hurt. Like, there's not a single person on
Mm-hmm.
this planet that doesn't have some type of trauma that happened in their life, betrayal,
Mm-hmm.
something. Like, we're all walking around with wounds and scars and brokenness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, the best part about this is, finding your healing. And like you said, it's hard. It is hard work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of people think that there's a magic Bible verse or there's a magic quote that if they just find it, it's going to
Yeah.
instantly heal them. And it's like, no, healing sucks. It's
It's the
hard
worst.
work. It is gut wrenching. You take one step
Mm-hmm.
forward, you take 25 steps back sometimes. But you know what? I can say this, 17 years into my journey, 100% worth it.
Yes.
Every The peace and the joy,
Mm-hmm.
worth every single step, tear, blood drop, everything. Like, literally
Agree.
all of it.
Totally agree.
The other thing I see sometimes when it comes to like your friend group is when you start to level up, they
Mm.
get scared
Yep.
because if kind of what Jen was talking about, but it's like if you're leveling up, well, am I not good enough now? And so they try to pull you back. So instead of
Mm.
just letting you be on your merry way and being happy or leveling up alongside you, they want to put the ropes on and pull you back. Did
Yeah.
you experience that with anyone?
Yes, because again, I didn't have a lot of friends
Mm-hmm.
when I first moved here. So, and then during COVID, I really wasn't hanging out with anyone, but there was this one friend that I was hanging out with, and I considered her a really good friend. She was actually the person I texted to take me to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And as I started going through my healing journey, started off as little things, but then noticed bigger things. Like I remember because the person that I was romantically involved with during COVID who betrayed me, we would see him sometimes surfing.
Mm-hmm.
And keep in mind, like I'm recovering from almost dying, that relationship with him, like all this
Mm-hmm.
other trauma. And one time we saw him surfing and like I had an emotional reaction to it. And she basically told me I needed to get over it. This was like 3 months after I almost died. And which was like super jarring because it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
over it yet. And I
Yeah.
probably won't be for a while. And another thing that happened that was a huge red flag was I started writing my book and it was a process. Like some things
Yeah.
would go well, some things would not go
Mm-hmm.
well. And one time I was talking to her about something that hadn't gone well. And she was like, I don't know why you don't just quit. And again, it was like really jarring because it's like, why
Mm-hmm.
would you encourage me to quit just because of like one little thing that's not going right? And then I eventually, and I should have cut it off at that point or set some boundaries at that point. But then I learned that she was like, doing some stuff behind my back. And that was the
Mm-hmm.
point where I was like, okay, this is not working out. So that was like the biggest thing that came to the surface because I
Mm-hmm.
think, because she knew all the inner work I was doing and she
Right.
probably saw some changes in me. And I think that stirred up some stuff in her for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And yeah,
Oh,
so that
100%.
definitely
That or
happened to me.
Yeah.
and Claudia and I talk about this a lot too, like in a women's space, is that I ugh, women, we 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 hate each other for what reason? Like it's like
Mm-hmm.
you can't be successful because then that means I won't have enough, I might not get enough success. And it's like
Yeah.
we're constantly competing and being jealous, and even our best friends, like it's it's just heartbreaking to me. And I
Mm-hmm.
truly believe that it comes from a self of your identity. Like you don't know who you are, you don't know whose
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm,
are, and you lash out that way. Like,
yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
when you're so confident in your identity, like bro, I know, guess what? I'm going to be super successful, but guess what? I know you're going to be super successful too. So like, let's get
Mm-hmm.
together and be successful together. Let's do
Yeah.
this journey together. And I think there's so many women that again are just, their identity is so wrapped up in their looks or their hair, their career, their marriage, everything else externally.
Their
Mm.
And then if
misery.
any,
Yeah,
yes. And if
exactly. Yeah.
something exposes that or something that
Mm-hmm.
makes them uncomfortable, it's like they lash out instead of being like, maybe I got to do some work. Like, why am I reacting to my best friend or my friend who allegedly I'm supposed to be doing life with, and that was my reaction to them? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's hard and it's sad, but I know Claudia and I, like, this is one of our ministries, I feel like is really truly showing women that we can be supportive of each other, that
Yeah.
we can rally each other, that
We need to
everyone
be.
can
Yes.
have success and healing, and we're so much better together
Mm-hmm.
as we are divided, and cattiness and envy, and it's just all of
It's
that is
exhausting.
Oh, for sure.
yes.
Well, Claudia, you mentioned misery, and I was talking about my manager at work earlier. The thing that caused the rift between us, we were having a conversation. She lived in Texas. I live in Hawaii, obviously. And and we were both working a lot and stuff. So I didn't do a lot outside of work. But she asked me, like, do you ever go to the beach or whatever? And I was like, my whole philosophy is I do one thing a day that brings me joy. So I go surfing for at least an hour a day because I love
Mm-hmm.
being in the ocean and blah, blah,
Love
blah.
it.
After that moment, she hated me. I don't think she could stand that I did one thing a day that made me happy because she wasn't doing anything a day that made her happy.
Or maybe because you're in such an amazing place that, like,
But like, why be
Hawaii,
mad
like,
about that?
Right.
because
Well,
insecurity,
Texas.
Yeah.
right?
uh,
Well, I was going to say
but
landlocked, but
but that's exactly it, though. It
yeah,
is that instead of being either or both being joyful for you or saying, wow, I should do
Right.
one thing a day. Like I'm
yeah,
missing that in my life. Let
yeah,
me do that. And instead, she chose the path of let's hate this person who's really trying to do life the right way.
Right.
It's baffling to me that
so,
women do that. And I'm not saying men are completely off the hook. Like we can do episodes on men, but but I
but we're
just,
women.
yeah, I just feel like we're really bad at this.
Hmm.
We're not, but
Yeah.
in general,
Yeah, in general.
our people, we're really bad at celebrating one another and seeing something somebody else is doing. And if it strikes a chord, being introspective about that. Why does that
Hmm.
strike a chord? Why did
Yeah.
that make me feel a certain type of way and
Hmm.
figuring that out internally versus now I hate you because you go surf every day. Like that just doesn't make sense to me
I
at
will say
all.
I have hope for the younger generation because we were all grew up in the Mean Girls type era because I don't think that
Yes.
was ever taught to us, like for women to support each other.
Yeah.
But I have several examples, but the one that comes to my mind is my friend Gina, her daughter. She's like 10 or 11. And we don't get a lot of like big musical artists coming here because like
Yeah.
to ship all the equipment and stuff, it's just
It's a
like too
lot.
much. So there was this Taylor Swift cover band that came here. They're actually kind of popular, and I think they travel to places where she doesn't really go so that
Hmm.
people can have the experience. Well, so her and her daughter and daughter's friends were going, and she asked me if I wanted to go to kind of basically keep her company and help chaperone. So I went, and because it was more for her daughter and her friends, like I think I did dress up a little bit, but like I didn't put on makeup or anything. And I got in the car and I got in the passenger seat because all the kids were in the back. And my friend Gina was like dressed up as she was ready to go out. And I was like, oh man, you look good. You're not even wearing makeup. And one of her daughter's friends in the back, who I'd never even met before, she goes, oh, you're not wearing makeup? You're naturally pretty. And that just like warmed my heart so much because if you were 10, would you ever say that to an adult when you were 10?
Right.
So
Right.
No.
I think the new generation of girls are learning to support each other and hype each other up. And again, that's just one example because I'm seeing
Hmm.
that more in the younger generation of girls.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Right.
Our work here
Absolutely.
is doing something. Do you ever run into or see your old friend that was dismissive and didn't treat you quite the best as you were healing?
No, but here's an interesting story because maybe a year after, it might have been longer. Um, Anyway, time had passed. I ran into a mutual friend. Actually, I would just say a mutual acquaintance. Like we both know
Hmm.
who this guy is. And he followed her on Instagram. I don't think I ever blocked her. I just like stopped
Yeah.
following her, removed her as a follower of me, but
Right.
I never like checked up on how she was doing or anything. But he followed her on Instagram. She had breast cancer. And I was like, oh man, that sucks. And I went through this period of like a day or two, like, should I reach out to her? Because even though things didn't end well between us, like,
Hmm.
she's a human being, she's going through this really hard thing. And then I also, in that cycle, I went through a period of anger because, again, remember, after I went through my thing, she told me to just get over it.
Right.
And I was like, I can't even about 10 years later, and she recovered from breast cancer, and it was 10 years later. I can't even imagine telling her to just get over it if she wasn't over it. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I went through this period of anger and I almost reached out to her just to be to send her this loving message, but like the undermining reason would be to like, this is what it looks like to be compassionate. And then I was
Right.
like, nope, that's the wrong reason. And I was just like going back and forth because it's like I wanted to like send her love, but I also didn't want to. And ultimately, what I decided to do. I was like, because you can send people love energetically. So I'm like, I'm just gonna send her
Mhm.
love energetically and leave it at that. But that was actually a really hard turning point because it's like I wanted to
Mhm.
say something, but it's like I don't want to revive the friendship and I don't want to reach out
Mm.
for the wrong reason. And the ultimate thing was I just want her to feel love. So I'm like, I'm just gonna send her love energetically. But she, and another part of that, she actually ended up moving off island. So no, I have not seen her and I didn't end up reaching out to her.
I love that you really thought through it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you thought about why would I be doing this? Like, and you really dug deep.
Oh, yeah.
Because like I have been known to put on the apron and turn into Petty Crocker. Like, I'm not gonna lie. So I
Same.
appreciate the fact
Yeah.
that,
The urge was
you,
there.
yeah, but you recognized it and you were like, you know what? The real reason I would be reaching out is really to
Yeah.
twist the knife a little, which kind of would have been justified. But I appreciate the fact that you didn't. Um, what does it look like now when you have a bad situation? So like before when things got rough and you
Mm.
turn to the darkest sides, what do you do now that's different?
I think the biggest thing, there's several different things. I think the biggest thing is that I have the tools to regulate my emotions because my biggest downside before is that when I would get caught up in anxiety or whatever the big
Hmm.
Hmm.
feelings were, I would let them overtake me. And I felt like
Right.
first of all, I didn't feel safe in my own body. I didn't feel like I had any control over my emotions. And it just felt so all consuming and basically helpless. But now that I have the tools for emotional regulation,
Mhm.
that helps so much with all the other things because then I can go into it clear-headed. Like, so for instance, the issue with my friend, like being able to calm down and think through that whole thought
Right.
process and
Hmm.
then make a decision, like it just changed my life.
I think the one of the biggest things right now in our society is that parents are not teaching children
Hmm.
how to properly manage and deal with and regulate their feelings and emotions. I also,
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest key factors in that. And even down to sometimes like allowing even video games and getting that stuff like that desensitizes people
Mm,
to their
yes.
feelings and their emotions
Mhm.
and whatnot too. And I truly believe it down to parenting. You're raising humans to be productive people of
Ideally.
society. Ideally, yes, agreed. And
Yeah.
so I think it's but again, you've got broken people
I was just
having
gonna
children
say,
and raising broken people. And it's just been this huge, it's this cycle, obviously. But, I even think down to like, even if we want to go for like a bigger discussion, even down to crime, like the uptick in
Hmm.
crime and whatnot, like again, you've got people that are so angry. Like you hear about these road rage instances. We just had somebody locally here in the Northern Florida area, like got so pissed off that somebody cut him off, shot him,
yeah.
obviously didn't. I mean, thank God it didn't kill him, but like, wait, why are we so angry? Like,
Hmm.
oh, let's learning to manage those emotions, I think, is one of the biggest, biggest things
Hmm.
that we fail
Yeah.
miserably at.
That was one of my frustrations about Chicago. Everyone assumes I moved here because of the weather, and that was part of the reason. But I would
I
say
lived in Chicago, so I can attest.
yeah, the main reason was everyone was so angry. And I'm an
Yes.
Hmm.
empath. So I would just start absorbing it and I couldn't stand it anymore because it's like I
Hmm.
just can't stand all this anger. And there is a lot of crime in Chicago, and I'm not surprised because everyone's so angry.
The fact that you just said
Right.
that is so profound because like I felt that too. And I lived in Chicago in 2015. So it's been 10 years since I've lived
Yeah.
there too. But 100% you can
Hmm.
feel, I mean, even in my husband and I, when we got married back in February and we were out on our honeymoon and we were actually let me back this up. When we went to Amsterdam on our engagement trip, um, just even being in that city, like we talked about, like you can feel the heaviness in that city, and it was like, and as soon as we got outside of the city limits, like you just felt it.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
like 100% can totally understand like Chicago angry.
Right. So when you talk about crime, um, I think there's sometimes clues that we see that can really like let you know that somebody's a criminal. So for me, I think about tattoos, and I got to be honest. If I see like a face tattoo walk in or a neck tattoo, I'm immediately thinking you've clearly done a stint in the pen,
Yes.
and you've probably killed 7 people. However, today I know that I'm wrong because Angie has a
Hmm.
face tattoo, and she's not a criminal. So tell us about your tattoo that counts as a tattoo, I think. And what made you do it?
Uh-huh.
First of all, that was a beautiful segue. Second of all, most people don't know about this, but I have eyeliner tattoo.
I love it.
And and the reason I got eyeliner tattoo, because when I lived in Chicago, I wore makeup all the time. I would like always be in Sephora, on
Yep.
YouTube watching all the tutorials. But then I moved to Hawaii and this is just not a climate for makeup. It's hard to even put on because it just starts running immediately.
Uh,
So about 2 months after I lived here, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get eyeliner tattoo, and that's what I did.
so do you still get it?
Fantastic.
Yeah, I have to get it touched up because I surf, so I'm in the sun
Right.
and
Yeah.
water a lot. So I do have to get it touched up every once in a
How
while.
how often do you get that touched up? I'm just curious.
Like every 2 years, I think, which
Oh,
is
that's not
actually a
bad.
lot. Oh, really? Um,
Yeah.
because just
Well, I
again,
don't
I'm in
know,
the
but
sun and water
Yeah.
and elements a
yeah.
lot. Because I don't think
Yeah.
you would normally need to get it touched up that much.
Do you
No.
get that from a regular tattoo place or like an esthetician?
Yeah, she's like a beauty tattoo artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does she do other like, because they do lips, right? Like lip liner, I've heard. Oh, and
Yeah,
The
they
yeah,
brow,
do.
like
I'm
the
sure she does. I know
microblading.
she does brows and eyeliner, but
Hmm.
yeah,
Would
the,
you
the
ever
lip thing
get
I think is
any?
new.
Yeah, well, and I think that can go awry pretty easily.
yeah,
Because
Oh
like
yeah.
now
plus
you have
there's
this
so
weird
many.
line if it's a different color.
Yeah.
Right.
Plus there's
Yeah.
so many nice stains now. I don't know why you would want to get an extra
Right.
tattoo.
Right,
So
right.
she like I just recently got into doing like lipsticks in the past like few
Hmm.
months and we have been like on this rampage. So like we've been like, oh yeah, so like I'm gonna change my color up now. The fact that I'm wearing it, I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to be different.
Yeah, yeah, we're very into that now. Well, Angie, where can people find? No, before I want to ask, real tattoos. I mean, not that your tattoo is not real, but would you ever consider getting something else? Like a traditional
N-
tattoo?
No, like they're all just so permanent for me and I just know myself and I would change my mind or like the next day I would be unhappy with it. So I just know myself too well to know that's not a thing for me.
Well, stay with the eyeliner then, because that seems to work for you. So I would stick with that.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Where can people find you? So if they want to hear about your coaching and the services that you now offer to help others, or if they just want to come out and get some eyeliner tattoos, where can they find you?
I am on Instagram. My handle is Angie Hawkins 808. And my website is runninginslippers.com, which Running in Slippers is the name of my book, and the information about
I
my
love it.
book is on there. But there's also information on my coaching services because I help high achieving women transform from chasing love and approval from outside of themselves to radiating confidence so they can finally feel happy and free and loved for who they are. So information for that is on my website. I do offer free coaching calls for new clients so that we can talk about whatever you're struggling with. And the goal of the call is to get you help because my coaching program is called Shine from the Inside. It's not for everyone. So if it's not for you, I can at least point you to other resources because I know other coaches and have
Hmm.
other resources that I can point you to. And until the end of August, I am running a promotion on my coaching. It's $1,000 off. So if you set up a discovery call before August 31st, then you are eligible for the promotion. And I am also hosting a masterclass workshop on September 20th. It's called Unshakable You. It's about having confidence that nobody can take away from you. Because again, when it comes from within, then you're not relying on these external sources of validation. So we'll touch on 3 key things that you can do in your everyday life to have that internal confidence that nobody can take away from you.
I love it.
Yeah,
And
that's
I love a
awesome.
discount. So
Right.
people
So
jump in on
run.
that.
And
Yes.
Yes.
there will also be a discount offered if you attend the live workshop on the 20th. So
Love
Nice.
it. Absolutely. Angie, you have been so wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and how you have been able to really turn self-loathing into self-love. Thank you so much.
thank you guys. Yes, if I can do it, anyone can do it.
Thank you for listening to the Strong Enough podcast. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform by searching Strong Enough. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Strong Enough Pod. If you have suggestions for an upcoming episode or a future guest, please reach out at strongenoughpod@gmail.com. Remember, you are worth it.